What's going on, fellas? This is Mike D, Mr. Double Down on You, your favorite personal development coach, with another episode of Black Fathers Now. Now, what's interesting, if I put my glasses on, and if you're watching this, you might think that I'm interviewing my brother. You know what I'm saying? Because we got the same head shape and same complexion. We both are follically challenged, as I like to say. And this is my brother, but not my biological brother. But who I have today is this eclectic guy, this man who's dynamic, who has an amazing story, who's doing work for the Lord, but he's also a CEO. But more importantly, he's a husband, he's a father, he's a leadership coach, and he's known as Doc Rock to the world, but he's also known as Dr. Karockas Watkins, based out of Huntsville, Alabama. So fellas in the Black Fathers Now family, ladies listening, because y'all like to tune in to what we're talking about, let's welcome my man, my brother, Dr. Karockas Watkins.
Well, Mike, man, it's good to be on this morning, and talking with you. And I remember the first time I talked to you on the phone, I'm like, hey, man, we brothers from another mother.
Yes.
Same father. We look alike. We have so many things in common. And I'm excited about what you're doing and Black Fathers Now and all the other things that you're doing to help push and promote Black men, but also not just that, but that success, because I think all of us have it, can have it if we just reached out and keep working, man. So thank you for what you do, bro.
Absolutely. And when we think about success, definitely when we jump into your story and we see, the things that you've overcome, the things that you accomplished, you definitely, and what's flowing through you is a model for success. But before we jump into your story, let's give shout outs, because, I'm one that's big on the village, and who are we without those that are supporting us, the wind beneath our wings, and allowing us to be who we are. Give some shout outs to those that are important, that are in your village, and then we'll jump into your story, my brother.
Yeah, I would love, I think it's great because I agree with you. It does take a village. And my first shout out is my wife, Dr. Audrey Watkins. I mean, she's there. She's been there for me, man. She's allowed me to flourish. She's allowed me to do what I do. I've been around the world, as we'll talk about that. And she haven't given me no problems. She's helped raise our kids, and she's been there as my strength. Also I have my college professor, Dr. David Green Jr., man. This guy was a Black dude, a mathematician, was a father, really brought me up from Alabama to Flint, Michigan, to Kettering University, to engineering school, and taught me the value of time. I remember Dr. Green saying, Mike, you can never replace lost time. And we friends to this day. This guy has a nuclear physics degree. I mean, he's very, very smart. He's retired now, was over the science and math department, but man, was there. And of course, my mom, and I don't want to talk about that now, but my mom, was a 15-year-old mom. She had me when she was 15 years old, but never ever said what I couldn't do. Always told me what I could do. Never said, you were a mistake. I tell people the act was a mistake, but the product, Doc Rock, was divine in God, so she always said, go for it, and be the best you can be, and don't let people judge you by, where you was brought up. So, and my grandma, I have two grandmas, man, that both of them gone. Mama Sally, who was my father's mother, and then a lady named Merlene Hollins. We call her Ma. And she's my mom's grandmother, but I actually just took her. I took her as my own. Mm-hmm. And she was one of the people, Mike, and we know this, brother. She believed in me. When I didn't believe myself somewhat, she absolutely believed in me, said, God have great things in you. You're going to do great things, up until the end, until she passed a few years ago. And man, we talk about Ma to this day. So, and I want to talk about one more person. I have a biological father, Curtis Jackson, but my stepfather, Reverend Dr. George Franklin, man, this guy took me and my sister and my brother. None of us was his kids. Married my mom, and was a father to us. He's a pastor, man. He's a good man. He showed care. We was not stepkids. We was his kids. And man, today that guy, man, is an example of what you should be as a stepfather. And so I give hats off to those people.
Man, I'm gonna tell you, man, your shout outs, and it's so interesting. I mean, we could legitimately just pull concepts from your shout outs and really build a full talk around it. I mean, you mentioned the value of time, right? The other thing that you mentioned was the act was a mistake, but the product was divine. Like you know, let us say, pastor say that'll preach, right? And then when you really jumped into, you know, your stepfather, but then also your grandmother, the concept of belief and support, how they had belief in you and never told you what you couldn't do. And your mother was the same, but then the backside of that with your stepfather, support, meaning he was always there, even though he was not your biological father, he was there. So just those things I think are in the soup, kind of got mixed up to excuse me, to create Doc Rock or Dr. Karockas Watkins. And that being said, I think that's a great segue into your origin story. Talk to us a little bit about where you come from, some of the inspirations and the things that led you to where you are today, brother.
Yeah, you know, born in Decatur, Alabama. Decatur is about 30 minutes outside of Huntsville. And Huntsville now is, of course, the largest city in Alabama, about an hour north of Birmingham. The Rocket City, as it's called, you know, more engineers and PhDs in the city of Huntsville than any place in America now. But anyway, you know, born and raised there in Decatur. And, you know, when I was born in the projects. You know, we call them the bricks, right? Yeah. You know, and I told them I'm gonna write a book called Brick Child, you know, and I'm coming from the bricks to where I'm at today. But anyway, you know, and I told people, man, Mike, I didn't realize I was poor until somebody had told me. You know, they like, man, you know, people are probably poor. I'm like, what? I mean, you know, because it was an apartment to us, right? And I didn't see a lot of success around me. I saw a lot of people living average, and I'm not knocking them and beating them down, but that's who they were. That's what they did. But man, there was something inside of me that would not settle for average. You know, my definition of average is just on top of the bottom. You got the bottom, then you got average. You know, and I was like, no, you know, that's not what I want to do. What I want to be. I want to be more. And God had gifted me with intelligence. You know, I was smart in math. I was smart in reading. I made good grades. I was smart in just most things, and I used that to get a sponsorship, a scholarship to with General Motors. General Motors, when I was graduating from high school, wanted to sponsor a student from Alabama, a minority student, to go up to GMI Engineering and Management Institute called Kettering University. Now, it was one top-notch engineering school, private school, and and General Motors there in Tuscaloosa will be where I was working. And because I, you know, kind of busted my tail, made good grades, that allowed me to get that sponsorship. They interviewed several people in the state. I got the sponsorship. You know, I probably would have been called nerdy, Mike, but I played 3 different sports and lettered in them. Had some records in football and track and all. But you know, naturally, I was an introvert. But those sports brought me out, hit me. You know, I got some cool points from there.
Yeah.
You're smart, man.
It's necessary. As a brother, you gotta have the cool points, man.
Cool points, brother. You know, back in the day, man, you know, you use a square. That just didn't happen. I mean,
that's it.
You know, the girls look at you, everybody thought you know, was weird.
Yeah, that's it. No, that to this day, the same thing. You can't be a square. It's like something you got to figure out your cool factor. You dig?
So I took that. I took the sports to kind of balance me out and balance out the cool points. And so and so I used that, and then went to GMI. You know, that was my first time ever spending any time in the North. To be honest with you. And when I got there, you know, all the girls would be like, "He's so country," you know. My dialect, man, was really, really bad then. I mean, I was like Flo, Doe.
And they never heard it. But you know, the funny thing is, it's like, and it's funny, I remember growing up, being country was considered derogatory, right? Yeah. It was kind of like somebody's putting you down. See, I'm from Augusta, Georgia. Augusta's not necessarily country, but to a big city, Augusta's country, right? Yeah. And so when you go somewhere, folks always want to say, "Oh, you just so country. You so country." And they're trying to imply that being country is being backwards or being slow or not knowing or unintelligent. But the reality is, if you look at it now, everybody wants land. Folks are going from the big cities down to the country, you know. And so it's funny how things come full circle where it's no longer derogatory to be considered country. The folks from the city are now wanting to be a little more country because they can see the value that the country brings to the table.
Oh man, you're so right. You're so right. And so, at first, when they started doing that, man, like, listen, I was kind of offended. I was like, what? You know, and they asked me, you know, y'all got roads in Alabama. Do you know you still ride horses? I mean, they say all kind of stuff, man. And so at first I was getting kind of offended. I said, oh, I'm gonna use this. So the girl, all the ladies, the girls was like, oh, he's so country. Say some country. Say something. And so I took that country and used it for my advantage.
There you go. Look, come on now. The power of authenticity. You know, see, people don't think they're like, everybody's trying to figure out a way to get in and be like everybody else. But when you start to really understand where the real juice is, the real juice is in your point of differentiation. And the thing that differentiates you from everybody else is you.
Is you. You're right. It's you. And so, you know, I was me, and I done well. I got very, very involved at Kettering University, and I was selected to be part of the president's council, which led me. The president council was a group of 7 students they picked at the school, and bi-monthly, sometimes monthly, we met at the president's house. He had all these dinners with CEOs of corporations. Like I said like back then, I sat at the table with Smith, who's the CEO of General Motors. I sat at the table with Ross Perot. I sat at the table with several people from these Fortune 100 and 500 companies every month, and we would sit there and tell our story and entertain them. And you know, as part of the president's council, which allowed me to grow as a person and as an individual in order to understand what to do when you're at the table. And to be honest with you, I had never been in a situation like that. And so our first meeting, I never forget this. I'm like, there's like, I don't know, 3 or 4 forks, 2 or 3 spoons. And I'm like, what is all this stuff for? So, as any intelligent person would do, you look and see what everybody else is doing first.
Pay attention. Yes.
You pay attention, and I could learn some etiquette from that. But it helped me later on in life as well. And then it gave me the confidence, you know, and assurance that I needed in order to go forward. Because one thing I learned early, and I learned this from Dr. David Green Jr. as well, is confidence. You know, be confident in yourself, even if you're wrong, even if you don't know, you know, you have some confidence so you can learn what you need to do. And, you know, graduated with GMI, wrote a thesis that was confidential with General Motors that I got a, you know, award for, and then started and left General Motors and started for IBM, went out to Raleigh, North Carolina, to Durham, RTP, Research Triangle Park, and worked for them for a little over 2.5, almost 3 years as a card engineer. We made printed circuit boards, and I was over several lines and plants like Texas Instruments in Austin, Texas made printed circuit boards for me. Lexmark in Lexington, Kentucky made printed circuit boards. So I was over all that. Learned. GM had me in on their IBM had me on their high potential list, and you know, and did a lot of training with me in management. Had me in management training and all that because they felt like I could be a senior leader in the company one day. Well, I was doing well. My wife was there, ready to go to law school. She was working for Nations Bank there. And I tell people, God started messing with me. You know, and we got this thing all settled in. We doing well. You know, I'm a preacher at this time. I got called in the ministry my sophomore year. Let me go back a little bit. My sophomore year in college. And started doing some taking free classes, started doing some preaching and teaching to young people. But here's the deal. I did not want to be your preacher. Pastor, didn't want to do none of that, Mike. My dad was that. I'm a businessman, I'm an engineer, I'm gonna run IBM or some company one day. That's what I'm gonna do. God started messing with me and said, I want you to go back home and start ministry, you and your wife.
Hold on, pause. So you've gone to engineering school, you've been at the table with CEOs, Fortune 100, Fortune 500 folks. You get a position with IBM in Raleigh, Durham area, you're working, you're on this executive track. They're training you for upper level management. Your wife's in law school. Y'all were settled in. You were on this career trajectory, and you were fighting internally this pull that you knew was pulling you in this other direction to say you need to go back home and answer this call to ministry.
Yeah, and I was one of those people, like many people, I'm like, I would never be back in Alabama, only to visit, only to give back,
Yeah.
I'm not coming to stay. You forget that. I ain't coming to stay. And so, I mean, God was just dealing with me. I mean, for a whole month, it's like I could not go to bed. I couldn't get up without this on my mind. Anyway, long story short, my mother-in-law was getting ready to get remarried, and I was led to call General Motors, Saginaw division of GM, down in Decatur, Alabama, and I called them and say, "Hey, I'm coming back home. Do you have any openings?" Well, I went to GMI, Kettering. I mean, the current Mary, the current CEO of General Motors right now, went to that school. So I mean, so it's very, very notable, his prestige to it. Anyway, so I sent them my resume. I came there. The wedding was that Saturday. They interviewed me that Friday. They called me that Saturday evening, because I interviewed that Friday. After the wedding, I got a call from Harry Fuller. He can tell you this story. He's still alive. And Harry said, "We want you. Here's the offer." Gave me a verbal offer. Sent the offer. Next week, I went back to North Carolina. They sent the offer in. I accepted the offer. And then the next week, I said, "I ain't going. Nah, I'm not going to Alabama." I said, "Nah, I'm even missing God." I just no, I'm doing well here. Audrey was getting ready just to start law school. She hadn't started yet. She's getting ready to go. And I'm like, "No, I'm not going." I called General Motors on the phone, said, "Thank you, but no thank you. I won't be coming." He's like, "You sure?" I was like, I won't be coming. For a month, I never forget it. 1 month, Mike, I couldn't breathe. I couldn't go to bed. I couldn't take 2 steps without God just messing with me, dealing with me. I'm like, "Oh God, really? Really? Come on." After a month, I told my wife, Audrey, I said, "I surrender. I surrender. We going back home." She said, "You turned the job down. What you gonna do?" I said, "I have no clue, but we cannot stay here in North Carolina. We have to go back home. God won't let me rest." So I said, I was led to call them back. So I called Harry Fuller back. I said, "This is Karockas, Watkins. I decided I am coming home. I'm coming home." I told him the reason why I was coming home. And he said, give me a day and we'll see." He said, "We offered the job to someone else, but let's just see what we can do." Well, in the meantime, I had told my boss at IBM that I'm leaving. I'm going back home. And I ain't telling why. Well, for 2 weeks, I started to get extra money in my check. I mean, significant amount of money. I'm thinking they made a mistake. I want to spend this money, I have to pay it back.
I know, right? Just put it over here to the side, just in case.
So I put it, and that's what I did. Well, after a couple weeks, I went to my boss, Bruce Walton. I said, "Bruce, why am I getting extra money?" He said, "Karockas, I can't explain that. You have to go to Bob DeBose." Well, Bob DeBose was my boss's boss. He's a friend of mine right now today in Durham. And he's a brother, man.
Wow.
Yeah. And IBM, Duke graduate. I mean, this dude was bad, man, smart, and really understood the plight of Black men and how to help them. He really was. He's a mentor. And anyway, I went to him and I said, "Bob, Bruce, I'm trying to figure out where this money." He said, "Well, we want you to stay." And he showed me the high potential list and what, the plans they had for me. He said, "Why are you leaving us?" And I said, "God told me to go back home." Here's what he said. He said, "We can't compete with God." He said, "We can't compete with God." He said, if there's God, we can't compete with that. He said, but if you ever need your job back or a job, it's him waiting on you. And Harry Fuller called me. I talked to him. He called me that evening, that night, say, can you start in a month? And that's how I got there. Now, it was brought me back to Alabama.
Wow. And
started Emmanuel Church. Well, I didn't start Emmanuel Church. I'll take that back. At first, I went and started working for General Motors. In a Baptist church actually asked me to come pastor. They have a pastor, and I released it. And I went there for a year and a half. And I told them, God called me back to start a church. So I won't be here long, but I will help you all. And I did that. The church grew actually. In the midst of that, when I was in North Carolina, God said, when you go back home, I'm going to save your family. Now check this out, Mike. Check this out. God said, I'm going to save your family. I'm like, what? This is the truth. On my mom's side, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, about 8 aunts and uncles. 8 aunts, 2 uncles. None of them was in church. None of them knew the Lord. I baptized most of them, and they all joined that Baptist church. Matter of fact, all except one, which is with us now, is still at that church, and they are the leaders of that church now 20 years later.
Ooh, hold on. See,
that's the truth. That's the truth.
And I don't know, I believe it's true. And what's so interesting, and this is where the whole notion of when you have that thing inside of you, you and I will say it's the Holy Spirit. I know there are different people with different belief structures and all, but when you have that Holy Spirit inside of you, that thing that says you need to go and do something, your testimony or your example is validation of why we need to listen and act on that. And I think a lot of us struggle with the right thing to do. So as a personal development coach, a lot of times I'm not here to tell somebody what to do, but I present it in different ways and give them different angles for them to look at it. And usually they answer their own questions. They come to their own solutions. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm just here to present it in a way for you to think about it a little differently so that you can ultimately come to your own conclusion. But those things that are inside of us, a lot of us fight what we know we're supposed to do, and we're waiting on some other confirmation to do that. You listened, and you came to realize that you going back initially wasn't even about you. It was about your family.
Right.
And had you not listened, the devastating effects would have not necessarily been on you, because financially and your family probably would have been fine in North Carolina.
Absolutely. Right.
But it's who you were supposed to impact in Alabama would have missed out. And that's something that we can't miss the boat on, because those that are in need of what we have, if we don't listen to what we're called to do, they are the ones that miss out on it. And we ultimately still can be fine, which is like, it's a bigger picture look at this. It's not just about us, it's about everybody we touch.
And you're right, because just this past weekend, my younger brother celebrating 50 years on this earth, and we had a lunch. We had a lunch with my aunts, and one of those aunts, because I came back to leadership, because I've always implemented leadership in all of our teachings at church and everything I've done, because as a leadership coach, as a consultant, all that kind of stuff. Now I've done it for years. Well, anyway, my aunt was so proud. She said, and they call me Rocky. Okay. She's Rocky. She say, look, this is a lady who dropped out of school, high school, and she showed me where she has a medical assistance, certification in the state of Alabama that she had to take several tests to have. And she showed me this, and she's 50, she's 61 years old, something like that. And she was so proud. She said, and this goes back to the teaching 20 some years ago, but she never stopped, in her pursuit to be better. And now she's certified, more paid. Had an Alabama seal on it. And so when you just say it's bigger than us, that story just came back to my mind. We don't know who we're affecting by our life, by how we lead. I tell people, everything I've done up to now, I've had these titles, but leadership is not a title, man. It's what you do. Okay, it is influence. You can have a title, not be a leader, but you definitely can be a leader without a title. No doubt about it.
No, you can be a leader without a title, man. Listen.
Yeah,
that's big. That's big. And fellas, I hope you're paying attention to that, A lot of times we're looking for the titles, we're looking for the accolades, but you can be a leader without the title. And I'll be honest with you, there's a book, one of my favorite books is called The Alchemist. And the whole premise behind The Alchemist is as you pursue your personal legend, or from our belief perspective, it would be as you pursue your calling, as you pursue that thing that you're called to do in life, God creates the opportunities to usher you along, right? So it's kind of like as you pursue your personal legend, the universe conspires to help you on your journey. Is God helping you as you move along your journey? But you got to start doing it. So you don't need the title to be a leader. Just start leading, walk in that direction, and see how this thing opens up.
Yeah, you're right, because it's influence. And we don't really know sometimes how much that we are leading people or influencing people, you know, the leadership influence, you know, but, and it's back to what you said earlier, staying true to you. You know, I've gotten our course here and there. I think we all do as we grow, okay? But one thing at the age of where I'm at now is that I know who I am. The power to define is the power to determine destiny. Let me say that again. The power to define is the power to determine destiny. If you let other people and other things define who you are, they determine your destiny. But if you get your definition from, in my case, God, my calling, somebody else may have something else, then that determines my destiny. And so when you learn who you are and stay true to you, as you said earlier, stay authentic to you, we're going to influence some people and help people along the way. Hey, your payday is coming. My payday has come, and I'm gonna have another one. Okay, but it's not about what I'm trying to get. It's more what I'm trying to give. You know, because givers are getters.
That's it. That's real. That's real. Givers are getters. And what you just mentioned too, which is interesting, it's like, you know, and this is something that I use an analogy of the tube versus the vessel, right? Because a lot of people want to be vessels, meaning, you know, I'm a vessel, I'm soaking it all up. But the only problem or the challenge that I have with the vessel is the vessel's not beneficial to someone else unless it spills or it's knocked over. Right. And you have to be completely full before you can drip out and help somebody. My whole thing is those of us that are called to lead, that are called to empower, to inspire, to help, to encourage others, we're actually tubes, meaning what flows in one end flows out the other end. But the challenge with a tube is there's nothing on the bottom to catch it. So therefore, when that faucet is coming and it's running through that tube, you got to have enough faith to realize that that faucet's not going to get turned off. But we also get fortified by what's flowing through us. It ain't me, it's what's flowing through me. And what's flowing through me has to get kicked out to other people. But guess what? It's more where that came from. And that's how we have to operate.
I agree. You know, I always say to people, and I use that same analogy a lot of times. And I say, you know, we all are funnels, man. We are funnels to something great. And our story, where we came from, you know, our starting point, okay, it's significant. I tell people, don't beat down your starting point, because your starting point, okay, is there for what your calling is. Wherever you got delivered, where your mind opened up, you know, where you was born, all those things, how tall you are, how short you are, how dark you are, how light you are, you know, how big your ears like mine are. But all those things, everything about you is for your why, your purpose in life, the reason for you existing. And I know I found out that, you know, through all this, even at the place I'm the CEO now of Ability Plus, you know, that's why, you know, led me teaching leadership led me here. And it was a client of mine. And, you know, Ability Plus is we take care of people with intellectual disabilities. We, you know, employ 500 people, one of the largest in private providers in the state of Alabama, you know, and we take care of people with special needs, people who can't fully take care of themselves. But I got here because of leadership, because of me caring and wanting to help the CEO at the time in his immediate staff to be better. You know, it was all about influence. Now, love being here now. But people say, now, how you do all these things? You know, you have a leadership consulting company. You CEO of Ability Plus. I'm the chief CSO of Emmanuel the Connection, which is Chief Servant Officer. Church, how you do all these three things? How you lead 3 different organizations? Mike, they all the same. I lead. I influence. I do the same thing really at all 3 of them. They all morph together. Be honest with you. You know, because that's what I do, caring for people. because if I can help those that follow me to be better personally and to be better in this organization, then it's pushed down and we become a better company. We become a better organization, you know, but it starts, you know, it starts with me wanting to help. If you can be the leader of one, you can be the leader of many. But if you can't be the leader of one, you can't be the leader of any.
Pause right there. And fellas, again, see, it's kind of like the whole notion of, you know, when you learn how to manage a little bit, then you can learn how to manage a whole lot. If you can be the leader of one, you can be the leader of many. But the problem for a lot of us is we bypass being the leader of one. And the one that we're talking about is the one we're seeing in the mirror.
That's right.
You cannot lead yourself to making good decisions, to making good choices, to being disciplined, to being focused in how you operate, to understanding who you are, and then building a life or pursuing life through that particular lens. If you cannot do that with yourself, what makes you think that you can do that for other people? But you have to start with the one in the mirror. But the thing is, and the beauty of this, once you master leading that one yourself, that one that you're looking at in the mirror, once you master that, you now have the playbook to lead thousands if you need to, or if you're called to, because concepts and principles transcend circumstances.
Yep. And you're right. And you don't have to be perfect to do that. You just have to keep growing. Every day you're growing. Every day you're getting better. You know, there's things I'm still working on. Am I there? No, I'm not there yet. Okay, but I'm better than yesterday. I guarantee you that. Okay, and if I live to see it, I'm gonna be better tomorrow. So we don't need perfect leaders. Okay, we just need leaders who are vulnerable and understand our weaknesses and understand our strengths, that we may keep going forward to help somebody. Because no matter how low you think you are, there's probably somebody lower than you that you can help. You know, and so once you start to grow, then we have to be self-aware and not get the big head, right? And not think that we're better than anybody, because you know, gratefulness is a powerful thing. I'm so grateful for where I'm at today. I'm so grateful of the opportunities. You know, you talking about it, you're looking at, I'm telling my story a little, you know, a project boy born to a 15-year-old that's been to 31 different countries. Now, I don't say it to brag. I said that to say, okay, it's possible. Okay, whatever God has put in you or whatever you believe, your belief structure, but it's possible for you to achieve everything that's in your heart. We just got to keep working, and we have to give space for other people to help us. No man is an island by himself. Okay, we have this space for people to help us with our kids, to make us better fathers, because we can be public successes and private failures if we're not careful. So we got to understand what's going on in our private life. And I'm not saying that to throw stone at anybody, but because listen, hey, he's still working on me. And Steve Harvey said he's still working on me too. But that's it. But we have to allow him to work on us, right?
You said something there which is so powerful. We have to allow him to work on us. See, the whole thing about the spiritual growth is we have to be willing. And we have to open ourselves up. It's not forced upon us, right? Just like you mentioned before with your story, you were fighting it, but the moment that you said, you know what, I submit, you know, whatever, you do what you need to do with me, guy, right? That whole thing, that's the unlock. And a lot of us are resistant to change, resistant to growth. And some of that is due to our lack of exposure to what's possible. So we only limit ourselves to what we've been exposed to. But some of the beauty of having exposures is you kind of get a peek around the corner to understand, oh, hold up, there's some things over here that I've never experienced. And I've been limiting myself just because I've just been in this environment. And as you shared your story, especially earlier on when you were at GMI catering for engineering school, how you would sit down with CEOs and all, you know, but then you also came from the projects. I thought about a stanza from one of my favorite poems, If, by Rudyard Kipling. And the stanza says, if you can walk with crowds and keep your virtue, or walk with kings nor lose the common touch. Like it's just this whole concept of, if you can kick it with the crowds and keep your virtue, if you can keep your, you know, your honor intact and not have to sway from who you are. But on the flip side, you can be amongst kings and still not lose the common touch.
Yep.
And so to me, powerful leaders are those that really get it, are those that know how to navigate that intersection, because a lot of times we get so disconnected from reality. Oh, you flying private and you this and you that. You don't know what normal people live like, right? But if you can do all of that and still have the common touch, or you can deal with the crowds and still have your virtue, dude, you're talking about leadership that could change the world.
And that's what we need. We need more of that. And it's amazing because I say that a lot. You hear in my teaching, some of you hear me say, I'm living as a king, but keeping the common touch. Because when you get from reality, then you're no good for nobody but yourself. I never forget. I work with a guy, and he's a very rich guy, and I do consulting with me. He picked me up in his private plane, and was actually going to a bowl game. Me and my son and my oldest daughter, and my son had never flew before. And so we go to the private airport and everything. And I said, now, Joshua, you got to understand, this is your first flight. Okay. And I think at the time he was like 11. And I said, but most people don't fly like this. They go to the airport, go through security, drop the bags off. They don't have a red carpet that the car pull up to, and you go into the plane. I said, so you got to understand, you living today as a king, but most people, that's not how they do. And I was trying to tell him that because I didn't want him to get out of touch with reality. Okay, of what most people go through. The day that we stop understanding and have empathy for what most people go through, that's the day we need to stop leading, because we've gotten too far ahead of those we're trying to lead. And one thing I have done all my life is cherish myself and prided myself, in a sense, if I can use that word the right way, on being a servant leader. Even at Ability Plus, we have people who come and clean up and do those things, but I carry out trash. I see the trash can. I maybe have this suit on. I have trash. I back up my floor many times, and people like, and I got hardwood now. We changed it, and so I sweep it. People like, Doc, what are you doing? I said, it's not about the floor. It's about reminding these little things right here. Remind myself that I'm a servant leader. I'm no better than the janitor. We have different roles. We have different things we do, but I'm no better. And in that janitor, as in me and those who are listening right now, is greatness. And we discover that greatness, okay, and work hard, it'll come out and we'll become what we are supposed to become. But I tell people, don't be looking down at people because of their job, because if they ever realize that greatness is in them and that light go off on them, you're going to see somebody in a few years that you ain't never seen before.
I hope y'all are paying attention to that. I mean, that is a legit gem. And I think it's one of those scenarios in which we have to understand people are people. And it goes back to what you mentioned from the standpoint of leadership. You don't need a title to be a leader, right? You don't need a title to be a leader. You can just be a leader, but it starts with leading that person that you see in the mirror. If you can master that, then you have all the tools necessary to master leading at scale. And it doesn't matter your title. It doesn't matter your income. It doesn't matter your position, your education, your background, your story. You are uniquely you, and you are uniquely positioned to do something great. Don't look down on somebody else because of a title, because if you value yourself or you build yourself up solely based off of the title that you have in your life, the reality is that is something that is false. That is something that is not, basically it's not something you can build your life around, because that title can come and go, but you still gonna be here.
Yeah, and it all starts and let me say this, I want to get this in before we stop, because somebody said, Doc, well, how, what did you do? What is the secret sauce for you? And the secret sauce for me is mindset. Listen, when I was in the projects, my mind, was in the palace.
Ooh.
When I was in the projects, I'm telling you this, my mind was in the palace. See, I tell people, you are today what you thought yesterday. You'll be tomorrow what you're thinking right now today. We look like our mindset. We look like our thoughts. We look like our decisions. So if you want to change where you're going, the first thing you change, is your mindset. You don't go buy a car that you can't afford. Change your mindset and how you see the car. First of all, be grateful for what you drive. And even if it's a hoopty, I drove one that had to put oil in it, like I put gas in it, right? But change your mindset. Get yourself somewhere in the future. Now I call it's all about attitude. 85% of our production in life is not based on your degree, your skills. It's based, as you know, Mike, it's based on your attitude. You know, because attitude determines altitude, how you go. I wrote a book when it came out last year. It's called Goditude, G-O-D-A-T-U-D-E, Goditude. And it's an attitude based on a word that brings success in one's life. Somebody said, well, Doc, how you get to the place of success that you are now, and we going higher? It's because of my Goditude. I have an attitude that based on truth that cannot be denied, man. You can't deny me. You cannot stop me. I'm telling you, you hurt yourself because I have a Goditude. You know, go buy the book. And I ain't just trying to promote my book, but I'm telling you, it'll change life. I've had people from people at Coca-Cola Consolidated, from executive directors, CEOs. Many people are saying, man, this is really good for my personal life and corporate life. So it's all about attitude, man. It's all about attitude.
And it's interesting. So with our kids are 8 and 10 at the moment. And, you know, I tell them, I don't get mad for you failing. I don't get mad for bad grades. I don't get mad for, you know, stuff breaking or things not working. The only thing that I get frustrated with are bad attitudes and poor effort. So as long as your attitude is where it's supposed to be, and you provide the proper effort, if that's your best, I'm cool with it. You know, and that's the thing. So to your point, the Goditude, and this is a book, and is that book available? Where's it available? On Amazon?
You can get it on Amazon. Go to Amazon and Google Dr. Karockas Watkins, or you can go to docrockleadership.com and you can get it from there. docrockleadership.com. Awesome.
So make sure y'all grab a copy of Goditude. Go to docrockleadership.com, or you can go to Amazon and grab a copy of it.
It's on Barnes and Noble as well.
Is it Barnes and Noble as well? Okay, so literally just about anywhere you can get books online, or go to docrockleadership.com, grab a copy of Goditude. But before we get out of here, man, again, powerful story, powerful message, leadership, it's all you, right? And so you can do a million different things, but you're really not doing a million different things. You're really doing the same thing just a million different times, because you know what you're called to do is at the center of it all. Talk to us before we wrap this thing up, how your experiences, how understanding life from this perspective, how this has come full circle to impact you as a husband and a father.
Well, you know, wow. Once again, you want your private life to be greater than your public life. And so what I've done is I learn from everyone. Mike, I'm learning from you, right? So every circle I've been in, from circles like in Africa, I learned the value in Nigeria of respecting older people and listening to them and taking wisdom from them, because they big on that. In Brazil, one of my friends, they big on family, and you know you can't be a corporate guy without first being a family guy. Woo. You know, it ain't the other way around. You got to be a family man before you can be a corporate man to be successful. So all these things I've learned, and I brought them back to my family, and we have our own, you know, team Watkins. You know, we have our own corporation at home, right? And everybody have some input. You know, my oldest daughter is getting ready to complete her law degree at Duke. You know, got a scholarship, dean scholarship, and I'm a brag. I'm saying, you know, but she challenged me because I challenged them. My middle daughter is getting ready to get her teaching degree at Birmingham Southern. And I got a little 15-year-old, ready to be 16 years old. Wow, car time at home. That love his father, and my wife challenged me. So I've taken all those things that I've used and all the wisdom, to bring them home. And guess what? I'm open to criticism. I'm open for them to say, "But Dad, hey, you know, you ain't spend enough time, or you know, you're a little testy, you're a little bit stressed. Can we help you?" I'm not one of those fathers that I know everything. I'm not one of those fathers that don't allow their kids to talk. Now you're gonna give me respect because I'm do that, okay. But at the same time, I'm gonna respect you for who you are, for what you have to bring. Everybody has something to bring to the table in our family. Every individual is different. I'm not trying to make Kristen Brianna or vice versa. I'm not trying to make Joshua like his two oldest sisters. Everybody have their place of expertise, their place of destiny. And so what we try to do is help one another to fulfill that. And what I'm seeing now, even with my girls, they 4 years apart, and they kind of like fought a lot,
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
I'm like, oh man, I think you're grown. I hope they start helping one another. And now I'm seeing them help one another in their own spheres and give each other advice and listen to that. I'm actually seeing Audra in ourselves. I'm seeing us in them, which is coming back at me in a good way. And it's great, man. It's rewarding, because I always said I wanted my kids and our family all to know they love by God, they love by their father and their mother, but I want them to be what God called them to be, not what I want them to be. What did God call you to be? What do you feel your purpose in life is? And whatever that is, we want to support it. And man, I'm proud. I'm proud of that. I'm more proud of that than anything that I ever could do. Now, at one time, Mike, I didn't think that way.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I really didn't. I was like, okay, let's go out there, let's do this, let's do that. But at this point in my life, I'm like, man, I'm more proud of that. Those are trophies, those are trophies in my trophy case. My kids and my family and my wife, and everything hadn't been rosy. We've been through some tough times, brother.
Mm-hmm.
Tough times. But we made it through. We weather every storm, and man, I can't wait to get up on the mountaintop and bring somebody along to celebrate, to go back to the valley, to come back up to the mountaintop.
Man, I'm gonna tell you, which is so powerful, just hearing you speak and just with pride about your family. And it goes back to what you were mentioning, how you have to live it. Like, you have to be a testament of it. You have to bring this to the table and how you live before you can take it out to the world. And what great leaders do, great leaders put people in positions to win. Now, that doesn't mean that it's going to be perfect. That doesn't mean that it's going to be easy, because a lot of times there's some tension there.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, when you look back over the track record, great leaders put people in position to win. And that's not necessarily just in the corporate arena. That also comes back to home. And it sounds like that's been a priority, and that's been a focus, for you and your family. And, I salute you for that, because the thing is, when people look at us, they don't just want to look at the worldly success. They also want to take a look back and see, like, well, so how's his wife, and how are his kids, and all of that. And there's a level of consistency. There's this through line from home on to the corporate arena, to the church, to the world, to this, to that is consistent. And that, my friend, is success.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh, man. Well, brother, as we wrap this up, man, how can folks learn more about Doc Rock? I know DocRockLeadership.com is the website, but anything else, any parting words, anything else you want to throw out there for the Black Fathers Now family?
Well, hey, I just want to encourage them to don't stop going forward. Keep pushing. Check us out on YouTube as well. Doc Rock Leadership is on YouTube, and just listen to some of the nuggets we have. We all learn from one another. And I want to tell them, no bad days. You can have a bad minute, a bad hour, but no bad days. We have a book coming out in the summer called No Bad Days. So here's the deal. It's Super Sunday. It's Marvelous Monday. It's Terrific Tuesday. It's Wonderful Wednesday. It's Triumphant Thursday. It's Fantastic Friday. And it's Successful Saturday. Mike, I'm Doc Rock. You join me at the top.
No doubt, my man. Well, brother, thank you so much. And fellas, ladies listening too, make sure to visit DocRockLeadership.com. Follow Doc Rock Leadership on YouTube. If you catch the brother on social media, if you're in Huntsville and you check out his church, if you're at a leadership conference and you hear Doc Rock's on the roster to speak, just know you finna get blessed, because the brother finna bring the heat. All right. But as always, make sure to follow Black Fathers Now on all social media outlets. Hit us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, wherever you go. Check us out. Share this episode. Make sure to leave some comments, some ratings. And until next time, y'all be blessed, well, and wise. And I'll holler at you. Peace.
Peace.